Chat of the Wild is a part of the Greenlit Podcast Network. To find out more information, as well as other great shows, go to greenlitpodcast.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chat of the Wild. We are done this season with our playthrough of Twilight Princess. We've saved the princess and the castle. Actually, two princesses, really, if you think about it,
and
two castles. Yeah. So double duty this time, Link. We saved our girlfriend, which is not one of the princesses this time. So yeah, he was a busy boy this time around. But BC and I are here with a speedrunner, JD, who runs Twilight Princess, among other things. What else do you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What else do you run besides Twilight Princess and that?
The most recent game that I ran was also Skyward Sword. I was running that for a bit. I actually plan to speedrun all 6 of the 3D Zelda games and do them all in one speedrun challenge.
Okay. That's an afternoon, isn't it?
It's a little bit.
Yeah, because the Twilight Princess any percent, I take it.
Yeah, all any percent.
Okay, because that's like about 3 hours. Wind Waker what is Wind Waker down to now?
It's about 1 hour 10, 1 hour 15 on average, I'd say.
Oh,
really good runs are under an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, really finding a barrier skip, really helped that run out a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and I guess I don't know. See, I made it about halfway through Skyward Sword, and then I stopped, not because I hated the game or anything. I just stopped. I moved on to something else, I guess. So I haven't watched a Skyward Sword run before. I kind of tend not to watch speed runs of games I haven't, finished or played. So
okay,
unless it's Pepsi Man, everybody, no one's played that game. But that's really cool. And so I take it Breath of the Wild is also in that 3D Zelda speedrun challenge you're gonna do?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. How's your Great Plateau?
Haven't learned it fully yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Plan to soon.
Okay. That's a tall order. I've tried to learn just a couple of the tricks, and no, I can't even get like the Cryonis skip jump figured out. I've tried so many times.
Gotcha. I got as far as like the BTB to Magnesis, and then just kind of stopped learning for a while from there.
I saw that they used to do the BTB to Magnesis where they would have to drop down on the ground and then run for a little bit. And then I watched Rosanern's latest speed run where he bounced off of something instead of dropping to the ground and made it all the way to Magnesis. And I was like, okay, this run is really ridiculous now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was going to say, so I was watching through one of your any percent runs that you posted on YouTube from, I think, last year, like maybe mid last year. And you had mentioned that there was like a lot changing in the Skyward Sword speed run at the time, or there was like a lot of new finds. Has that like kept going? Is the run still evolving, or is it more stable state now?
So during 2019, that was the, I guess, explosion of tricks found. So there's also a really cool video. Do you guys know about the YouTube channel Lowest Percent?
Is it just low percent runs?
Lowest Percent. It's not all about low percent runs. It's just the name of the channel, but they have really cool videos about speedruns and tricks in them, narrated by really cool runners, and it just has loads of fascinating information. And there's one about Skyward Sword. I don't know if you guys know about something called the back in time glitch.
From Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess has it too, yeah. Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword all have it, but Skyward Sword, it's the most useful for that game by far. Basically, a trick was found that basically allows you to change memory values on different maps. And by doing that, you can set certain events to happen. And when this trick was found, the run went from 5 hours long to an hour and a half.
that's good for any game.
Yeah, it was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, because that has, a limited number of maps, but they change over the course of the game. So you can just sort of break it so that, like, I want it to be the third time I play through this region of Lanayru or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. That's cool.
You're playing Skyward Sword, you're playing all the 3D Zeldas, but do you want to talk about your first time playing Twilight Princess? Did you get into it as a speedrunning thing, or did you play it originally just
First time ever
casually?
playing it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like 8, I think. It was my first Zelda game I played, and
Okay.
it was introduced to me by my older brother. And at first, I was just like hardcore Mario fan, I guess. I was like, no, I don't want to play this. I'm not interested. And then I played it, and of course, the rest was history. But yeah, I fell in love with the game very quickly. I was obsessed with it, and I just kind of continued playing it on and off sort of throughout my life. And eventually, in like 2013 or 2014, I came across speedruns. Or actually, no. When I first came across speedruns, that was years even before that. But like 13 or 14, 2013, 14, I started becoming interested in maybe doing it myself. I saw an AGDQ speedrun by MoFat of Twilight Princess, and that sparked a lot of my interest. So what I started doing was I just had the Wii version of the game. So I used that. I applied cheats to it, like hacks, and just wanted to see how fast I could beat the game with cheats on, basically. And I would usually get times around like half an hour because you could just like fly and do super speed or whatever you want to do, I guess. And then I was like, I wonder what if I did this without cheats? And then I started actually looking into the run and the tricks you do, and that was just way more fun than doing it with cheats. It feels really cool to speedrun through the game. And I just got more and more into that and just went from there. My first run was in 2014.
Yeah,
How
it
long?
looks like a
Your
blast.
first non-cheat run, how long did that take you? Do you remember, or is it just too many runs ago to even think about?
My first full run was 4 hours and 50 minutes, and I don't remember the seconds.
And now I know your time was around 3 hours, or I think the time I saw most recently was 2 hours and like 58 minutes. Is that accurate, or?
That is close. I have a 254 now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
So has that dropped from 4 hours to 254? How long did how much of that was in the? I guess kind of what was the progression of it? What was it? Was there a breaking point where you were at four, and then all of a sudden you were closer to the 3 mark, or was it just by minute over the last couple years?
So I'd say between like 2014 and 2017, I just kind of ran the game on and off here. Like a few periods of time where I was really going at it, but not too much. I never really grinded at it too much during that time. And there were a few times also where I maybe took a break for several months or maybe up to a year, something around there. Then I would come back because I felt interested again. And then I think at the end of that time, I ended up with like something under 330, I think. And in 2017, I started seeing people kind of starting pushing more for sub 3. The first person to ever get sub 3 had already done it, and I kind of started making that a goal for myself, but I worked myself there little by little, like sub 315, sub 310, and it just kept on getting faster and faster, and I was even like surpassing my own, like what I thought I could get. And I was like, all right, let's sub 3, let's do it. And I just kind of went crazy from there. Like I grinded at the game for a few hard months, like just studying everything, figuring out what tricks I could learn and do better at, be faster at. And I just went at it pretty much and got the sub 3.
So, were there were there big skips found in between like 2014 or 2017, or was it a lot of like I'm just gonna get better at doing dash cancels and ledge grabs and stuff like that? Or yeah.
So out of all of the 3D Zelda games, all 6 of them, Twilight Princess is by far the most stubborn. It is it's had the least amount of sequence breaks found. Like pretty much all the big ones were found really soon after the game actually came out.
Mm-hmm.
So like early City in the Sky, early Master Sword, that kind of stuff. Still tricks that we use in the run, and they were found way back then. So yeah,
Okay.
Whenever we find something in TP, it's usually kind of small. Or if it's something big, then it's usually TAS only.
So that first GDQ run you saw with they were doing LJAs and things like that already.
Yeah, LJAs were a very early find as well.
Okay, yeah, that's I think that's what makes it one of the makes it really special, a special Zelda game to watch, especially 3D Zelda game to watch run. If you've never seen an LJA before, and the first time someone pulls it out and in front of you is just like a kind of a mind blowing event.
Yeah, some of them are still really fun to do to this day.
It's my first time playing through Twilight Princess, so I was really excited to see Twilight Princess speedrun. Yours is actually the first one I ever got to watch, because I didn't look at anything about the game until I played it. But it was just like, in the beginning, I was super confused because like the early Master Sword, and then there was something else at the beginning where I was like, did I skip ahead in the video, or did I like completely?
Yeah.
It's just like edited weird, but I think it's always like interesting to play through a game and then see someone just completely obliterated. I think that's the best part about speedrunning. It is a trivial thing, but the puzzle for the Master Sword, where you have to move the 2 statues, watching you do that like so quickly, I'm sure you've memorized it by now, but watching you do that so quickly versus me trying to do it in the like 11 o'clock at night with a fever was super impressive. I just want you to know that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I hear runners of this game like bring that up a lot, where they'll be like, "Oh no, and now we're to the hardest part of the game." No, not really. I just, it's just a pattern. It's just a pattern, guys. Don't worry, you can learn it.
It is the same every time, and after just a couple runs, it's just muscle memory.
Yeah, I think it's funny that when you do back in time, because that gives you the Link's tunic, his green tunic. It gives you the Master Shield. What? The Hylian shield. But it gives you don't get the Master Sword. He doesn't have the Master Sword in that cutscene, right? So you only have the Orden sword.
It would be OP if it did give you the Master Sword. You just
that would be really helpful if they had done that just for that cutscene. Because why not?
Yeah, just don't have to do early Master Sword at all. You already have it.
Yeah, and that's the one of the benefits of running, because you don't run HD, do you?
No.
So yeah, that's one of they put a wall there in HD that stops you from being able to do that. So
yep,
that's a great benefit to just having the GameCube version. I take it. So although I know there's one person out there who likes to run the Wii version, I can't remember what their name is.
There are a couple of them. You'll probably think of runners like Deesh or Haberino.
Okay,
maybe a little bit of Simikins. Those are some people I know who like to run the Wii version too.
That's the only version of it I've actually ever played. I haven't even played the HD version before.
The Wii version was my first too. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, are there any skips or tricks in general that were super difficult for you to learn, or that you still haven't gotten like the hang of yet?
I'd say I have the hang of all of the tricks. It's a matter of how consistent you can stay at them, because to stay good at all these tricks, it takes a lot of practice, and a lot of these tricks are in the first half of the run. Basically, the first half of the run like you had mentioned earlier, you didn't know if you'd like skip through the video or not. It's jumbled around a little bit. There's tons of sequence breaks you do, tons of big tricks. There's a trick 15 minutes into the run that often scares away new runners because it's just hard for them to get it for the first time or learn it. So you just have to like keep at it, and eventually you will get the trick and figure out how it works. And once you figure out how it works, then you can just kind of adjust yourself from there and figure it out.
Yeah, is that the like bringing the moblin or trying to get the moblin to follow you over? Or not
Yeah, that's the
moblin,
one.
but, that's the that is a rough workaround for that. But I mean, it's basically all you've got at that point because you don't have a sword, so you've got to use a Afro bird to kill a moblin for you.
There is a beginner route that doesn't have to do that trick, so if somebody wanted to learn the run, they could use that as an option.
How much time does that add, though?
It's like I never did that route. The route I started with was an old one, but I want to say like 30 minutes maybe, like 30 minutes slower.
Okay. So what about I mean, you said it was your first Zelda game. What is it when you look back on your first playthrough about Twilight Princess that really grabbed you, about the game that led you to, eventually years later be like, this is a game that I would like to speed run. It means something to me or something. I don't know.
The concept of speedrunning just never entered my head when I first played the game for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was when I watched my first ever speedrun, which happened to be of Twilight Princess. I watched two of my first speedruns ever, like, side by side. One was a Twilight Princess run by Giano, and it was like 3 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. And the other one was a 100% run of Majora's Mask, which I also thought was really cool. And that was back when it was like 6 hours long. Now it's like way shorter than that.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the no source requirements run next month.
Yes.
But as for the game itself, when you first played it, like what was it that was like, all right, Mario is for children. This is what I want to play now. Like, what is it about Twilight Princess that really grabbed you in the beginning?
That's a good question. I think that what was really appealing to me was the adventure aspect, the thrill, I guess, the idea of playing in like third person, like the way you control Link in a 3D Zelda game compared to how you control Mario. I don't know. I liked the controls. I liked the sword combat. It was just really cool.
I don't know, because I would like to talk. I mean, a little bit about the game itself. Like, I do love
sure.
the story in it, as like this Link is just kind of a regular guy. Usually Link is just some kid or, thrust into a situation or whatever, but you start out as like a farmhand and you got a girlfriend and, you got a horse and you're just kind of hanging out in the boonies and duty calls. But I do think that they were just like kind of able to really put in a fun story into this one. At least a setting or I don't know, but that's what I always think is cool about Twilight Princess. Like when I think of it.
So I would say, having played Twilight Princess first, how did you feel going back and playing Ocarina of Time? Because I think for people like Brian and I who played, like, Ocarina was our big Zelda game growing up, we came at this like, oh, this is Ocarina of Time but dark. But what's it like on the flip side where you start with Twilight Princess and then you go back and play Ocarina?
I actually loved it. I feel like a lot of people tend to have a hard time maybe going from a newer Zelda game to an older one, but I loved Ocarina of Time. I started with 3D, so maybe that helped, but I've enjoyed the 64 version as well.
I think starting with the upgraded versions definitely helps. Those like small quality of life improvements are awesome.
Yeah,
that definitely does. It definitely does get compared to that, especially when it was brand new. Twilight Princess, people were just like, "Oh yeah, it's like BC said, it's Ocarina of Time, but it's dark."
Yeah.
So yeah, that is funny. I didn't think about like going back to Ocarina of Time and and trying that again, because some dungeons do have that kind of feel to them, like they're going for a style of that game. Yeah. Speaking of dungeons, like, what is your favorite like casual dungeon to play, and what's your favorite dungeon to like speed run through?
In Twilight Princess?
Yes.
Even though it's not in any percent, I really do enjoy speedrunning through Goron Mines. It's just fun.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it was in any percent, but gotta go fast and all that. Casually, that is a pretty good question.
How long has it been since you played it casually? Do you even do that anymore?
Kind of. Occasionally I'll just kind of play the game and like 100% it without doing speedrun tricks for the most part. Sometimes I do like LJAs here and there just because it's convenient, but
yeah.
I still enjoy doing that occasionally. I've done speedruns of it 100% too and everything, so it's like two different worlds, but sometimes that is still fun to do. But I know that a lot of people, when they speedrun a game, it's hard for them to like enjoy it casually still.
Yeah.
Because you just see the game a different way.
Dungeons.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see there being appeal to like, but I like that dungeon. I just want to play it now. What is it about Goron Mines that you just don't need it for? Like, you can just skip the bow basically in this game.
So Goron Mines is very skippable because how the game works is with flags, right? So you get a certain item, and then a certain part of the story is unlocked. So the beginning of the game, you have to collect 3 fused shadows, and you get that from Forest Temple, Goron Mines, Lakebed Temple, right? And this is the same case for the mirror shards too. The game only actually checks to see if you have the last of each of those collections. So if you get the fused shadow from Lakebed, the game thinks that you got the other 2 as well. So it just lets you go straight ahead from there.
Mm-hmm. And Lakebed, you can get into just barely, with just enough air left, right? You can kind of clip through that door, which is funny because they clearly wanted you to try to do that, because you run out of air like right around the time your feet hit the ground, and you look up at the door to be like, where's the door? And then Link dies. So they gave you enough time to get down there, and then to be like, no, you should go somewhere else now. So that's kind of funny that you can find that door clip.
For which part?
Well, just for the entrance to Lakebed Temple. Because I forgot that when I was playing through this time, the what is it? The Zora Queen tells you like, hey, you go help my son out, or help my people out. I'll give you the ability to breathe underwater. And so I sort of helped her out, but I didn't go talk to what's his name, Rallis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so I clearly have the ability to breathe underwater now and drop down. And that was not the case, but it was just enough time. The amount of air you have and the length of time it takes to iron boot your way down there was just enough time for me to hit the ground, look up, and then die. So,
oh, right, yeah.
It's kind of designed that way, and since the door is just a little bit up higher, if you can clip through that door, you can just barely make it. And speaking of that temple, like using underwater bombs to breathe seems like a kind of a almost like a Sonic mechanic. How does that work? Does it just reset your animation? Does the physics engine actually displace water?
Right, so definitely not an intended thing to do in the game, but it works for speedruns really well. So because of that trick, we can defeat Morpheal completely without Zora armor. We can completely skip getting Zora armor at all in the game, so we don't have to do the wagon escort at all. We don't have to do the quests leading up to that. We can just go straight to Lakebed using the pillar clip. Did you know about that trick where you clip behind the wall and enter the Lakebed Temple loading zone with just barely enough air?
Yeah.
So you use that to get in.
Doing that. You saying that you got like a slow? It seemed like when you were coming down, you said you got a slow one as you were like ascending in the pillar and then like swimming through the wall. And is there like a slow and fast way to do that, or?
Yeah, there are lots of different methods for doing the trick. Many of them are faster. For example, like as you swim towards the spot where you want to start sinking down to align yourself with the pillar, you have to clip into it a very specific way. So you want to be at the right angle, the right position, and all that. That's why it's tricky to learn for a lot of people. It was for me when I first did. But for example, to be faster, you could start sinking a little earlier and double tap the iron boots so that you still continue going forward as you sink, just barely. Just so that you're getting down earlier, pretty much. There you can, and then from there, it's just a matter of being optimal about when you start swimming back up, calling Minna to stop swimming upward, and then clipping through. It's crazy to explain with just words, but from there, you just swim to the lake bed loading zone. You don't have to blow up the boulder or anything because you're behind the wall, and you can get in with just barely enough air.
And then you save and quit and come back, and you don't have to go through that early tunnel section. They just drop you right into the first room, basically.
Yep.
Which is always fun when like you don't think that will save you any time, because there's like, well, it's just just a little tunnel to swim through to get to the first room, but it turns out quitting out and jumping back in is still faster than doing that.
Plus, you would drown if you tried to go through the tunnel.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, are you okay? Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, okay. Since you never get Zor armor, you have to. It's kind of convenient that just happens to work. Save quitting and going back in just skips that room for you. There are a lot of weird things in the run like that just happen to work out really well for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of convenience. Like, oh, hey, thanks, Nintendo. You didn't intend for that to be there, but we wouldn't be able to do this if this wasn't here.
Exactly, yeah. Lots of things that are convenient, and some that are also very much not convenient, but that's just TP.
Yeah, and that Morpheal fight is something else, because you have to use bombs to it just resets your air.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
It's weird.
I will say another favorite speedrun moment of mine is you dropping bombs directly into the water, so you run out and you can just go grab a chest full of water bombs. I don't know why, it's really trivial, but I just thought it was hilarious because I'm like, why is he just dropping bombs in the water? And then it made sense as soon as you open the chest.
Yeah, and then you continue dropping bombs after that. It's kind of funny too.
Yeah, and then like if you fail the Morpheal fight, you have to drop bombs again, which might get you into a tricky spot.
If you fail the Morpheal fight, it respawns you outside the boss door, which you don't have the key for, so you can do a couple things from there. You can either bridge clip or vine clip and just go right back into the fight. But in a run, that loses you a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. And Twilight Princess is a weird thing where they fixed the Wind Waker glitch where you just kind of have to get to the loading zone behind the door. You actually have to have opened the door for the loading zone to work.
That's right.
Right? Okay.
Morpheal's door is an exception because there's actually a room in there that you can drop down into a hole with.
Yeah, and the loading zone is beyond, like, because there's more to the room than just a loading zone behind it. It's like Bongo Bongo in Ocarina of Time. Like there's a hole there that you have to go down. So that helps too. And if the room weren't like that, you wouldn't be able to do that clip.
That is true.
So that's another convenient thing. Like, thanks, Nintendo. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
There's so with the I heard the Temple of Time is in recent got a little bit better. Like, you don't have to do the scale anymore. You can kind of get yourself basically from the mini boss room back down to the main area and just skip the whole second half of the dungeon.
So, yeah, pretty much what the route for Temple of Time is now. And you won't see Temple of Time in any percent either. That one's also completely
Okay.
skipped because you can clip through a statue and just go straight to City in the Sky. But you'll see it in like Hundo or 100. We call it Hundo, 100% runs and all dungeons runs. I still think it's a really cool dungeon in the run. But what it looks like basically is you go up to the top, you get the Dominion Rod after fighting the Dark Nut, and then you save warp, so you're back at the beginning, and then you just clip through the door and go straight to the boss.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, it's door clip. Cool.
And you get the boss key on the way up.
Yeah, because you can do that casually too. Get a boss key on the way up, or do you need to have the Dominion Rod to do that?
The game intends for you to get it with the Dominion Rod, but it's actually pretty easy to do it casually too, like without it. Like I think that might have been the way I did it casually, just because I couldn't figure it out otherwise.
I think when we played it, I was like, I was shocked that like pretty much every chest in that dungeon you can open on your way up. And even the boss key, I think I was able to get as well. So yeah.
Yep, you can get everything without having to do the statue escort. It's possible.
Which is great because the doing the scale casually is awful on the way back down. I can imagine that like it was you had to like move quickly across it so that like Link didn't upset the scale or something like that when you were bringing the big statue all the way back.
Yeah, that part's frustrating.
Yeah, so I'm glad you don't have to do that anymore. At what point are you able to skip straight to City in the Sky?
So all that requires is that you have map warping. So to get map warping, which is basically the ability to warp from having your map open rather than through talking to Midna, you have to basically trigger the cutscene where Midna is where you're at Kakariko Gorge, and Midna's like, "Oh, the bridge is gone. We have to go find it." And then she forces you to warp somewhere. That's what gives you the ability to warp with the map. So you need that for the canon. And then other than that, you need Elden Twilight cleared, and the Master Sword, of course. And ideally, you do this after Arbiter's Grounds, but I think you can do it before. I'm trying to remember. It would take too much thinking. But you can just go down there. You align Link in such a way against the corner of the statue at a certain angle, and you transform into Wolf, and then you can just run through.
Okay.
It's fun.
Do you run all dungeons, or do you do like 100% and any percent mostly?
I've done all dungeons before. I've done Hundo, any percent, and I haven't done no save and quit. Not a lot of people do that one, but some people have been doing it lately, like Demon, getting world records.
Yeah.
I've also done several other categories that aren't as popular, but I came up with this one.
Those.
Yeah, there's this one that I'm kind of proud of, called 200%. You'll find it on the category extensions leaderboard. But basically, what it entails is doing the requirements of 100%, but also more things like getting every chest too, opening all of those, doing like every side quest, catching every fish. Because there are things like that the 100% speedrun doesn't require. What that usually requires is just getting everything on the inventory screen. So like all heart pieces, upgrades, items, things like that. But this one does like everything, or close to everything.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun to run.
Time difference between that and a normal 100% run.
It's about like 3 hours.
Jeez.
Oh wow. Okay.
Is that a nightmare to path out, or is there a logical way to approach it? Or?
Routing it was interesting, but I had help with it. I had a good friend help with optimizing the run. I originally wrote the route for it by myself, but I'm no incredible router, so it was like fairly good, but not like the most optimal it could have been. Then my friend came along and helped make it much faster and more in line with the tricks that the 100% speedrun does, because that's always been optimized by the community because it's one of the main categories.
Mm-hmm. And you can, the Zelda games, you can usually find someone to help you route things. There's enough people out there playing it that you're bound to find someone that'll be interested in that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Please, you talked about the community a bit. How important has the community been for like your progress, but keeping you interested in the game? Like, do you typically just play on your own and ignore everyone else, or is there like a lot of discussion and collaboration that you're a part of?
I didn't used to talk to the others as much, but lately it's been picking up because a lot of people have been hyping up the community a bit. Lots of people have been going for really good times. Crazy amount of people who have sub 3 now. It's insane. I was the 5th person to get it, and now there are about 20 who have it. So that's been really cool to see. Lots of excitement happening, and I've been making some good friends in the community. Yeah, lots of really cool people.
Awesome. Is there anything that the community is kind of working toward now? I know you said before sub 3 was kind of the goal, but is there any sort of like skip or big trick that people are trying to figure out right now that they're kind of pushing toward to advance the run?
So I guess that would kind of be barrier skip, kind of like what Wind Waker had for the longest time ever, and then eventually found. The barrier in front of Hyrule Castle, that I guess there are 2 of them. There are 2 different barriers at 2 different parts of the game. And ways, I think it's theoretically more possible that we'd be able to skip the first one. And the first one is basically where, like, the first time you go to Castle Town, you can go up to the north part, and there's just like the normal gate with the guards in front of it, right? And you just can't get past it. We've gotten close. You can use tricks like map glitch to go around the boundaries of the map and then go up behind the wall, but there's still another wall there that prevents you from getting through it all. And we just haven't found a way around that. And it's definitely not helpful that in that area you can't use your items. So that's only limiting us even more. And then the second barrier is crazy. It's the one that forms after Minas Desperate Hour that I think it's Zant that creates it. He puts the barrier around the castle, the really big one. It is actually massive, and the collision of that barrier goes all the way up to the top and even further down below the ground where you can't even see it. It's like a big iceberg. But it's even thinner than the one in Wind Waker, which is funny. It's like paper thin, even though it looks really thick. But we can't find a way past that either. Ways have been tried. I think that a lot of the community is just kind of comfortable with the idea that it won't ever be found. But I've seen a few, a couple people that I've been friends with in the community lately start wanting to push more to kind of glitch hunt and see if they could find a way past it. I have a friend who's convinced that there's a way past that barrier. And I'm not going to doubt that there's a way. I have no idea at this point. I'm just kind of going with the flow. But if a way is found, if it's found, it's found. So it's just taking a while.
So theoretically, if they do figure out a way to make it past the second barrier, how much of the run do you think that would cut out? Like, at what point do you think it would be, oh, we can just go straight from, Minas Desperate Hour into the final dungeon, or there probably be other things you would have to pick up before that to make it feasible?
So I think that a lot of that would depend on like what you had to do to get to the point where you could skip it, like if there were certain weird requirements for it or whatever. But assuming that it just required getting there, you can skip that requirement in Hyrule Castle, actually. So let's say that you are able to skip the barrier and you enter Hyrule Castle. Ways have been found to skip even needing to use the spinner in the very last room before Ganon. Right. So if we do find barrier skip, we're ready. People have found ways to, get around that type of stuff if it were found. But
if say the spinner was the thing that was required to get through the barrier, then you would have to go through Arbiter's Ground.
Yeah, you would. And I think if it were found, the run would probably end up being under 2 hours. At least. It would probably save like an hour.
It's a huge, for, almost 3-hour run. That's a massive difference.
Yeah, the run is still like pretty considerably longer than oh hey, you're back.
Yeah.
It's considerably longer than the rest of the 3D Zeldas by far. So you got Ocarina of Time, any percent's like 7 minutes long. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And not the most entertaining in my opinion, but for the 3D Zelda challenge I gotta do it. So Majora's Mask's like half an hour, Wind Waker's like 1 hour, Skyward Sword's an hour and a half, Breath of the Wild's like half an hour, and then Twilight Princess is like 3 hours. So I mean, I guess we've got some work to do,
Well, it sounds like it's Twilight Princess's turn because, like Barrier Skip and Wind Waker ended up being a like really strange but like easy something no one would have considered. Doesn't it just like not spawn in sometimes?
So yeah, it was interesting. So the first way to skip the barrier was found. It was kind of unintuitive, but it was discovered that you could dupe arrows. So basically, Link could pull out an infinite number of arrows and they wouldn't despawn. And what that does is it loads more and more arrows into the game's memory. So the idea is to load enough arrows into the game's memory that it runs out of memory and the barrier just straight up doesn't spawn. But the trick was really, really annoying because you had to count a very specific number of times that you duped arrows, respawn the room a very specific number of times. I don't know. There was a lot of factors that went into it that could easily mess up the trick, and it was really, really specific and picky. It was very nitpicky. And then somebody figured out how to use a bomb to push through it, so that saved it.
But yeah, that over messing with the memory is always a classic sort thing in speedruns of like, well, why don't we just try just completely messing with the memory of the game and see if we can do it that way or something like that. But
yep,
yeah, also just pushing yourself through with a bomb is that works too.
Kind of on the subject of Ocarina and then Breath of the Wild, where the runs are getting super super short. Ocarina only being a few minutes. You feel like there's a balance that you have to strike between how entertaining or how fun that run is, and how fast that run is. Is speed your main motivator, or is there a certain aspect of, is this run fun?
Yeah, that is a big thing, honestly. Sometimes tricks come by that just kind of ruin the entertainment, like arbitrary code execution, Ocarina of Time. That was a big one. Or maybe even SRM, But I think that's also kind of the reason that different categories are made. So if you want to run a category that still has, the fun parts, you can run that category. And if you're going for the speed, that one's also available still too. So that's really nice to be able to have those different subdivisions that you can choose to run.
Yeah, because
honestly, and obviously, since you made the true 100% category, the 200% category, you like playing the game enough to want to do more of it. So
I know, I'm freaking crazy. How could I do this to myself?
Well, when we played through Majora's Mask, Jeremy, our the other another other co-host, Jeremy was like, I think I'm gonna 100% the game. I don't have a 100% file of Majora's Mask on of the 3D version at least, so I think I'm gonna do that. And then, kind of after a moment's thought, he was like, "Well, I'm not gonna do the fishing stuff. Like, that doesn't count for me for 100%. So, like, yeah, even I didn't even think about that. Even like 100% runs aren't technically max percent or true 100%.
Yeah, this determining what counts as 100% is often not even like set by Nintendo. Nintendo often just straight up won't have a 100% counter. Breath of the Wild has one, which is nice, but that's why often it's up to the community of the speedruns to decide what they would count as 100%, and often what they stick with is what's on the inventory screen, or like the HUD, the HUD, pretty much.
Right.
And then true 100% could be like getting every chest and all that stuff. And yes, 200% includes fishing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not
You
as
go-
bad as Ocarina of Time's fishing, in my opinion. Ocarina of Time's fishing can go die.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, I've tried many things over the years to try and make it easier to get the fish I want in Ocarina of Time, and it just at some point there's just me standing like with iron boots halfway into the water trying to like just get the one fish to see see my rod. Like, no, it never gets any easier.
Nope.
So is there just a certain point during your true 100% run or 200% run that that like, okay, this is the fishing part now. This is when I leave to go fish now. Or is it like
I was never
split up?
too nervous about it because there's actually my good friend Anarakis. He did the world famous low percent speedrun of Twilight Princess that ended up
Oh, okay.
also on the lowest percent like YouTube channel, has like a few million views or something, I don't know. But he has the world record in low percent right now with like a 23-hour time. And he's
You know about this, BC?
I did not know there was a 23-hour run. Is it
Okay.
or is it like is that like his best segments in 23 hours, or did he sit for 23 hours?
So, do you want to, JD? Do you want to explain like kind of what low percent means?
yes.
First, and then kind of explain this.
So, low percent basically means complete the game, but with as few items as possible. So, this can end up meaning the run would be longer than any percent, but it has fewer items at the end than you would end up getting in any percent, if that makes sense. So, if you have a 20-hour time, or sorry, if you have a 20-minute time that ends the game with, let's say, 7 items, and gets world record, and then somebody comes along and gets a 20-minute or... Wait. No, sorry. Yeah, did I say 20 minutes or 20 hours?
He said 20
Ye-
hour.
So,
If you have a 20-minute time with 7 items, and then
Okay,
someone
so,
finds a way
yeah.
to get rid of one of those items
and gets...
still beat the game.
So no matter how long the person's run is, if their item count is lower than the world record, then that's the new world record. The idea is just to have as few items as possible. So for Twilight Princess, this is an interesting case because there's a funny trick called rupee sliding.
Or otherwise known as someone went and got a snack and took a break and came back.
You're on the
2
right
hours later.
track. Somebody went and got a snack, maybe slept for 8 hours and then went to work and then came back.
Yeah.
So when Link opens a chest and he gets an item from it, or even just picks up an item like a rupee, he has this like animation where he's sitting there like this, right, holding it up. And if you leave him there like that for long enough, he slides. He's sliding at an extremely, extremely slow speed, but he's moving. So if you give him enough time, he can clip through a wall. And that's the idea. You do that several times in low percent, including a 16-hour slide.
So yeah, he kind of has this swaying animation ever so slightly, but the animation never connects back around. Like it's not an infinite loop. It sort of ends a frame or two early or something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. There's one frame of the animation that's missing, so that creates an offset.
And yeah, over time, enough offsets allows you to skip some pose souls or something, and yeah,
Exactly.
and that becomes the new low percent.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to imagine discovering this, just like coming back from work or a snack or anything like that, and all of a sudden Link is halfway across the map.
That's actually how it was discovered. The trick was discovered when a runner named Zalux I think he was just like practicing or playing casually or something. He was in Snow Peak Ruins. He opened the key with the bedroom key, the boss key, and then just, walked away and came back like the next day, saw that Link was like behind the chest and almost inside the wall, and he was like, "What?" So instantly, the community started looking into why that happened, and Dragonbane, he is one of the most prominent glitch hunters for TP. He's found so many things, and he's been part of the community for a long time. He's even developed a lot of tools and stuff that help runners. But he looked into that, found out, oh wow, there's a frame missing from this animation. That explains it. That makes sense. And then low percent became a nightmare. I think it was once like 3 or 4 hours before that, but then it got a few minutes longer.
And with HD, they cut out the blue and yellow rupee, because I was the only one playing on SD version on our season. So every week I booted the game up to cover my section of the game. Every time I picked up a blue rupee or a yellow rupee, I had to watch. Hey, Link got a rupee. Over again.
Oh, that is so painful in Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is so bad about that.
Yeah. Skyward Sword also doesn't have the ability to because I would try to remember that I hadn't picked one up yet, turn into the dog, and then pick it up because the dog just looks so adorable when he's holding up a rupee. So
there you go.
Made it a little bit better. But yeah, so that increases the amount of chances that you would have to be able to do those, or the places you could do that in. Where
exactly.
As in HD, you would have to wait until there's a key right here, so I guess this is the closest spot I've got. So
yeah, they're very convenient for that.
Is there anything HD has that the other versions don't, as far as skips?
I'm pretty sure there are. Man, I wish I knew more about the HD run, but I think I'm just kind of forgetting right now. I've never learned the run for the HD version, so I know that it does, or it maybe at least did. I don't know if it still does. Maybe it does. Virus skip, so you can skip Goron Mines by drinking a bottle of, or is it a bottle of milk or filling your lantern? Something like that. You refill your lantern with a bottle of oil at the same time as Epona drops through like the ground. And as the lantern gets filled, Link continues falling. So you basically go low enough that once the lantern gets full, you're low enough that so you can start dashing with Epona around to like enter Lanayru early.
Oh, okay.
It's fancy.
How's the Twilight Princess randomizer coming?
Oh, it's fun. It's
yeah.
It's not quite at version 1.0 yet, but it's doing really well, and there's progress being made on it. We haven't gotten too many updates on it lately, but the developer AX, he's working on the project and making sure it gets to that 1.0 release. But beta's been doing really well, and it's really fun to play on.
Mm-hmm. Is he the only one working on it? Does he have any help?
There are a few other people working on it too.
Okay.
So he's not alone.
Yeah, I know Gymnast has been working on the OOT 3D randomizer, but he was doing working on a task a couple years ago, right? So or was that for HD? I don't know. But I know
he made the TP tasks.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, I can't imagine. I would like to now. That's. I don't need to talk about how much I would like to learn tasks. I never will. I'm never going to be that person. But yeah, so like, do you ever stream randomizers? Do you ever or play them or like?
Occasionally, I stream randomizers when I'm doing it with like friends. It's fun to do it with a group of people.
Yeah, to race and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, how long have they been working on that?
I want to say around a year now, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been going for a good bit. It's had breaks on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would ask, Are there any games? One of the things we do on the podcast is we play Zelda likes, so games that are either contemporaries of some of the earlier Zeldas or games that have been inspired by Zeldas. So we think back to like the Sega Genesis days. We played a couple games that are, were competitors to Zelda, and now there's so many indie games that are clearly working from the Zelda formula, or developers grew up playing Zelda. Are there any non-Zelda games that are, I guess you would say Zelda likes, or we would say Zelda likes, that you play or that you've speedrun?
I have speedrun non-Zelda games, but I don't know if I would quite say that they were very much like Zelda. They were all kind of unique in their own way. Yeah, honestly, no, not really. Zelda's just really special.
Yeah.
Sure.
What else do you speedrun?
I have done speedruns of Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Okay.
So first-person horror. I have done Undertale.
Yeah.
Which path did you take in Undertale? Did you do the pacifist run or?
All of them, a lot of times. But I guess my first time ever playing it, I went for pacifist. I think I messed it up though, and I ended up doing neutral. So
I was lucky enough that I had heard enough. I had enough friends that had played Undertale that they were like, just don't hurt anything. So
yeah, pretty much. And then I also I've run Celeste before. That's an incredible one. I enjoyed that.
Ooh, yeah.
Just a really good game in general.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I mean, to play, and like I make sure if it shows up at a GDQ event or something like that, that I'm on the couch that night.
Yeah.
I mean, I practically have a screen somewhere nearby me all week when GDQs are happening anyway. But Celeste
Nice.
is definitely a treat to watch, especially just because the developers of that game knew what they were doing. There's like no unintended tech almost in that game. Everything in there is in the code, and for the most part.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They embrace the speedrunning tricks. It's really cool to see.
yeah, it's cool. What do you run in Celeste?
I just did any percent.
Okay.
I ended up getting a PB of like 45 minutes and then called it good there. But I'm interested in going back and doing some more runs of it in the future.
I know we've talked 3D Zeldas, but have you played any of the 2D Zeldas?
I have, yeah. They don't tend to interest me as much as the 3D ones, but I have played several that I really enjoyed still, yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be a kind of a break with like a lot of like major franchises when for speedrunners, like a lot of the Mario speedrunners they'll either do 2D or 3D, or Sonic speedrunners will do either 2D or 3D, or same thing with Zelda speedrunners. You talked about how you did like Mario games as a kid. Do you do any Mario speedruns or anything like that?
I've never finished learning a Mario run. I was learning Mario Odyssey at one point, but then eventually took a break from that. I'm still interested in maybe learning a Mario game someday. I'm not against the idea at all.
I do love Mario games. We just recently finished playing Twilight Princess, and while it's fresh in my mind, how broken is Hyrule Castle? Like, what do you do? What's the process for when you get into the final area? Like, if you were able to do barrier skip with let's say most of the weapons in any percent, how do you go about breaking a Hyrule Castle?
In the normal run?
Yeah.
So in the normal run, you already have the items that are normally required to get through Hyrule Castle because they're required for other things anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just generally need them. So that's not an issue. Basically, what you do is you know how you could take two different paths at the beginning of the dungeon to get several keys. The fastest way to go about it is to just get one key, and you go left, you fight King Boblin, get a key from him. You can do like a 1-frame backflip, and if you get that backflip, you can save warp in the middle of it and save like 3 seconds. It's freaking great. And then you go inside. You climb up there. You fight the Dark Nut. Then you go. Then you have another fork, a split in the path. Like you can go left or right. So you go right there. You do because the bow is actually required for one of them. You need the bow for it. And since you don't have the bow, obviously you'll want to take the other way since you have the lantern.
Because you've skipped Goron Mines.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go outside eventually. You blow up a couple of Lizalfos with a bomb, which is kind of fun. Fun strategy. Very fast way to kill them.
Pushovers in this game. Like they'll die to like a spin attack or two. Like.
Or a bomb arrow.
Yeah, or a bomb arrow. Like I was really disappointed when like even the further into the game I got, like they never really seemed to get much harder, except they just got maybe more armor.
Yeah, pretty much. The bombs are always the way to fight them. And runs pretty much every time you see one of those guys, you just like bomb arrow and then they're dead.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll do a couple slashes and then a quick spin or spin attack.
Mm-hmm. And then you said you don't even really need the spinner for that last little section.
Oh, since you have the spinner, it'll just be much faster to use it for sure.
Oh, okay.
Plus, to skip the spinner, you need bombs. And at this point in the run, you're just about out of bombs.
Hmm. Is it like a like a bomb? What is it? Like a bomb boost, or what is it called when you like use an explosion to push you forward or something?
Yeah, like damage boosting.
Yeah.
So to skip using the spinner there, along with the double claw shots, there's one for that too. It's basically just a combination of using the boomerang to send a bomb a certain direction, and then have the bomb come back to you as you like do a jump, and then end up on a ledge. Avoid like the spinner track guys and go from there. It's pretty crazy, but it's doable. You don't do that in the run just because you have the items you need, so you just go through like normal, very quick. And then
would that be some? Oh, sorry. I was saying, would that be something you'd do in a randomizer if you had to?
I don't know if anyone ever has. It would be very nuts if they did.
Sorry, you're about to. I cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. And then there's that final Dark Nut before the boss door. You can skip him. And it's actually, it's pretty hilarious how you do it. There's literally a torch next to the boss door. And if you just walk close enough to it, but far enough so that you don't enter the cutscene that gets you into the Dark Nut fight, you can just claw shot that torch and you just go through it.
Okay.
Big oversight, in my opinion. It's hilarious too how long that took to get discovered by speedrunners for how easy it is to do. Like you just claw shot a target, that's it, and it's not even precise. But it didn't get found until like a while. It was kind of funny when it did get found.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, Ganondorf is just like pretty much the same, just kind of an optimized fight.
For the most part, Ganondorf's actually pretty stressful. So the reason for that is the first phase of the fight where you're fighting Zelda and she throws the electric balls at you. You have to do 3 of them, shoot them back at her. And normally you play like tennis, but you can actually get it to hit her instantly just by doing a spin attack underneath her when she fires it, and you'll never have to like bounce back and forth with it. But the thing that's rough is the insane amount of RNG. So if you're on a really good pace run, Zelda can easily kill it just by being a dummy. So
It's just by floating around.
She does attacks in cycles, and the minimum fastest amount of cycles you can get is 7. That's what everyone always hopes for. But it can also go up to like 15 or something ridiculous like that, and that automatically just loses you like 1 or 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a game of luck during that phase. Otherwise, it's an extremely easy fight. Then you fight, Beast Ganon, and there's some cool strats you do for that too. And then horseback, and then the fight itself.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure there are ways to make the horseback section easier, but I can't imagine. I spent so much time on that.
Yeah, it's hard casually. When I first played that part as a kid, I had a very rough time.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there are ways we have found to optimize it a little more, make it more consistent.
Yeah, there's no way to manipulate the Zelda RNG or patterns or anything like that at all. It's just all luck at that point.
There might be, actually. I think that's what the task does, but it's extremely hard to replicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. as is sometimes or a lot of times the case with task stuff.
Yep.
So before we wrap up, we have to ask you, and you can say this casually or from the speedrunning perspective, rate your top 5 Zeldas.
Okay. Number 5 would probably, well, let me think about they're each going to be 3D Zelda games. That's already a given.
Rate the 6 3D Zelda games.
Okay, I'll just rank the 6. That works. What's my least favorite one? 6 for me might be Ocarina of Time, but I also, I still really like it, so it's not that I don't like it. It counts as my 6th, I think. And then 5th would probably be oh, this is tough.
It is.
Maybe Wind Waker. And then 4th perhaps would be Skyward Sword. And then 3rd would be Majora's Mask. 2nd, Breath of the Wild, and 1st, Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Okay. And is it just because that was your first Zelda game? It's the one that grabbed you. It's like it just means the most to you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I can't fault you. That's how I feel about Ocarina. So.
And I know the most about the game too compared to the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. No, our other co-host Jeremy tries to get us to update our rankings at the end of every season, and BC and I are always just kind of like, I don't know, man.
It's tough.
I gotta think about it, I guess. So
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not entirely fair for the two of us to be the ones to make you rank it on the spot like that.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, BC, do you got anything else?
No, I was just going to say thanks so much for talking with us and taking some time to talk about Twilight Princess. If people want to see you, see your runs or follow you, is there? Do you have Instagram, Twitter? Where can we find you?
Twitch would be the main thing for me. My name on Twitch is just JDLM.
Okay.
All right.
Is there a night that's best? A night you're always streaming?
I just kind of stream when I can and when I feel like it. I haven't been doing it too much lately just because my wife and I are crazy busy with lots of things at the moment and getting things figured out. We're about to be moving to a new place too. I'm also figuring out school, and other than that, I'm just working, so a little busy, but yeah, I stream when I can and when I feel like doing runs or whatever else I may feel like streaming.
Okay.
Don't quite have a super set schedule at the moment, but I hope to someday get to that point.
Anything else from the community that you want to highlight? Just if people are interested in running Twilight Princess, or want to talk to people about it, like where they can go for that.
The Discord channel for Twilight Princess speedrunning is the place to go. If you have questions or want to start or need help with a trick or just anything, post your PB, get some GGs, everybody is super awesome and kind and willing to help you out. It's really cool. Very nice community. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much for talking to us.
No problem.
Yeah, Twilight Princess is one hell of a game.
Jeremy here, jumping in at the end. Thank you so much, JD, for taking the time to come on our show and talk about Twilight Princess and how quickly you can beat that game. You can find link to his Twitch in the show notes. Be sure to check it out. If any of this stuff sounds interesting to you, we haven't really talked too much about speedrunning on the show, but it's a very popular thing. If you haven't seen it yourself, you should check it out. It's a very interesting thing. You could fall in love with it immediately. It's kind of cool. Some of the stuff that they do on there, you could play a game, be obsessed with it for years, not realize there were all these tricks and glitches to complete your favorite game in 15 minutes. It's kind of cool. Like I said, check it out in the show notes. If you didn't hear our next season for Gaiden, it's going to be Oceanhorn, Monster of Uncharted Seas. That game is available on all the modern systems, including mobile. You can check it out, play along with us. But if you could stick around for one more minute, I'm just going to kick it over to some Greenlit podcast shows. Maybe you'll find something new over there that you like too.
Come on in. What can I get you? Sure, I've heard of Hair of the Dogcast. They're that podcast about video games and beer. From the latest gaming headlines to diving deep into the games of yesterday to sampling and reviewing craft beer from all over the world, Hair of the Dogcast is here for the gamer and beer lover in all of us. Available weekly on the Greenlit Podcast Network.
On the Super Nintendad's Entertainment Podcast, catch us grumbling about the news every Monday on the Morning Dadcast, chatting with industry professionals, and most importantly, teaching our kids just how incredible or horrible 80s and 90s video game and pop culture truly was.
All right, what else you got?
The Sega Slingshot.
Don't have a count, man.
The blast processing was really fast. Why can Knuckles fly even?
Tide prawn dough. What does that even mean? Samurai pizza cats. Gabe, we almost named you Guido Anchovy. Doing a Belvedere
Requires a set of low hangers.
I'm gonna die. Right here on Greenlit.
Hey there, this is Jeremy Parrish, and if you're a fan of classic video game soundtracks, or if you just love 20-minute rock epics about war-ready armadillos that battle Catholicism, you should listen to Alexander's Ragtime Band. Join the power trio of myself, Elliot Long, and James Eldred each month as we talk about the most pretentious music of all, progressive rock, right here on the Greenlit Podcast Network.